Hey guys, welcome back. It's your favorite messy bedroom boy. I have not folded my blankets. I haven't made my bed. My pajamas are currently sitting on the sheets. You can see them right there, the black splotch right there. Um, my drumsticks are on the ground, not because I was playing drums, but because I guess I was playing drums, just not on my drums. I'm actually trying to sell my drum kit right now because I just don't have time for that, unfortunately. But I have started playing cajon. Cajon's really fun because it's drums, except instead of taking up half your room, it takes up like a box shape, like a small box shape, which is quite small. Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is the channel where I talk. That's about all I do these days. I just talk and then I write. And sometimes I write things I enjoy, like fiction, and sometimes I write things that are not super interesting, like academic papers, of which I'm currently writing one right now. I'm doing a literature review, which is the thing where you take all of the sources you've read and you actually read them, if you can believe it. And once you've understood them, then you take out all the quotes you need and you compile them together into a, a pretty small portion, and then that's going to go in the paper just as like your thing that happens after the introduction. It's weird how academic papers are structured because you have the introduction, and I know what that is, but then you've got the literature review, and that's always a little confusing because it's like, okay, what's the point? What are we doing here? We're just like looking at the information that exists, I guess, which is useful. I don't know why I find it so weird. Maybe it's just because I've been doing it and it's tedious, and I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? I could be doing better things like writing other things or recording videos like I am now. Not that this is really a pastime. Like I do this so rarely these days that it's not even really something I do. Although that might change in the future. You never know. Maybe just because I'm so busy right now, I don't do much. But once things clear up, then I'll start doing more. Sometimes I don't even understand myself why I do things, which maybe that's just how everybody is. I feel like a lot of people don't even really think about why they do things, which is a good thing in a lot of ways because I think I can get caught up on like, oh, what am I doing? What am I thinking about? Oh, I'm thinking about my thinking, and then I'll think about that I'm thinking about my thinking, and I'll say, okay, I got to stop thinking, and I'll be like, man, this is great. I stopped thinking about my thinking, and then I realized that by thinking that I'm thinking about the thinking of my thinking of my thinking, and so it just becomes a whole mess. And even now, by speaking, you know what I'm doing? I'm adding another thinking on and on again forever. So there can absolutely be too much uh, self-awareness. It's not even self-awareness, it's self-consciousness. There you can be too self-absorbed, and I think I've been too self-absorbed lately. I've been kind of holding myself back by trying to think through my own self. And to the extent that I run out of energy to talk with other people just because I'm thinking about myself so much. And it's not even necessarily like a bad thing. Like, I'm not self absorbed in the sense that I'm like prideful, like, oh, I'm so great or anything. Because it comes from a good place. I want to be able to speak intelligently, I want to be present with people, I want to be someone that people enjoy talking with. But if I'm spending all of my mental energy thinking about the fact that I want to be that person and wondering whether I am that person, I'm not going to be able to actually be that person. Self awareness is good, self evaluation is good. But if the energy you're using to do that takes up your potential to be with people, to actually put those things into practice, that's not a good thing. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about something different. What is it? Well, you'll notice I just shared with you some thoughts, some things going on in my brain, and I understand that a lot of people might not struggle from those things. You might not be thinking about your thinking, about your thinking, about your thinking. That might be very specific to me, but by sharing that, it opens up your awareness of what people's experience can be. Now, you know that there are people out there who think about their thinking about their thinking about their thinking. And so, kind of what I want to talk about today is the value of exploring different perspectives. So, in one of the classes I'm taking, we just read this really great book called I've Been Meaning to Tell You. This is about a guy who has like he's like of like African American descent, or you know he's black, and the book is kind of about his experience of how that's affected the way he talks with people, mostly in North America, but also in some other places like Germany and I believe Central America or maybe South America, Trinidad, like wherever Trinidad is. It's about him, it's about his daughter, it's about his family, just their perspective on life as characterized by their race. And for me, when I was reading this, it was very eye-opening because just seeing the ways that it affects like every aspect of his life, the way he talks with people, it's eye-opening. It expands my own perspective of what experiences are out there. And it's also cool because he has some moments in this book where he kind of becomes self-reflective about that idea. I'm sorry, I have a cold, so I'm having a lot of trouble not choking to death right now. Um, I discovered recently that um, hot water is actually really good for clearing, like kind of getting your throat prepared to like talk and stuff. Um, I haven't used it for any like speech or presentation opportunities, but using it like drinking it right now, it's working pretty well. My throat is not dry, which is great. So yeah, this book, he has some moments where he kind of like becomes self-reflective about this idea. Like there's a moment where he travels to somewhere in Latin America. I don't remember exactly where, and in fact, it might not have even been Latin America, but it was perhaps Trinidad. I think it was Trinidad, but don't quote me on that. But he is he's eating roti, and he goes to this little shop, and there's a woman there and her two children are playing nearby, and he's just kind of evaluating the way she behaves and makes these observations like, oh, her children are unsupervised, or oh, she's alone, where's her husband, or I ask for something, more pepper please, and she doesn't look at me, she doesn't acknowledge it, and he notices all these differences, and in a sense he almost makes judgments on that person based on his expectation of how she should behave. But then as he's getting near the end of his time there, he has this comment where his friend like says, oh, something something, Mr. Cherry Andy, and the woman perks up and says, Cherry Andy, my father was a Cherry Andy, we're related. And then she goes back to work just like that. And so it shows, she was listening the whole time. She was aware, but she just didn't maybe express it in the same way that we might. From her perspective, she was acting perfectly normal, but from his, based on his expectations, it seemed unusual, even perhaps a little offensive. Um, and the other thing that moment expresses is the fact that from her perspective, she doesn't really see things in the same way he does. She doesn't think about race perhaps as much as he does. She just acknowledges, oh yeah, we're probably related, and then she goes back to work. It's not an important thing to her. So I just think that's such an interesting moment because it shows how your experience of life can be very different from someone else's, and you don't even realize it. You have expectations about what you think is normal behavior, or what should be expected of people, and other people don't see things the same way. So I think the big lesson that this book tells me is for one thing, I should have more patience with people to kind of to be fine if they act a little different from what I might be expecting, or even to just listen and absorb their perspective on life. But then the other thing that this book really highlights to me is the value of going out and exploring new perspectives. When I went to Ecuador, I would say that was the single-handedly most influential experience for me on understanding how different things can look from what I'm used to here in Canada. And it's interesting because I didn't go into Ecuador really fully expecting that that would happen. We've been talking about expectation a lot here. That's I guess that's another theme. But I didn't know how much I would get out of that experience. But my friend who really wanted me to go, he told me like it can be really impactful, and I well, I kind of just trusted him, and he was right. But I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I could get out of it because I had no framework for what it was possible to get out of an experience like that. So I guess I really just want to emphasize how important it is to seek out purposefully new perspectives, new experiences, things that could possibly grow you as a person and expand what you understand is out there. And I know it's really difficult to identify experiences that can be really impactful because you don't know in what ways things might impact you. But surround yourself with people who have lots of experiences, people who might be able to recommend things like that, like things like going to Ecuador or travel of any other kind, or maybe it can be experiences like skydiving or bungee jumping or caving or things you don't even know are out there. Or like foods, maybe you have friends who are from different cultural backgrounds and they eat different kinds of food. Maybe go and either with them or on your own try some of their food. Any knowledge you have that you think is maybe incomplete, any seeds of of understanding that there's an experience, there's a perspective out there that's different from your own, grow those seeds, pursue those opportunities if you can, because I think it can be really valuable. I going to Ecuador changed my perspective on reality so much, to the extent I'm now reevaluating where I might want to go with my future. Not so much in the career sense, but in the sense of other areas like community. Who do I want to surround myself with? Where do I want to end up in, like physically and geographically, when I settle down or whatever? What might I want to do with my time? That would be involved with career actually. Like I want to spend a lot more time with people now because I feel like I learned in some sense the value of community through Ecuador. Not just not just by being in a community where everyone was very close to each other, excuse me, but also just spending a lot of time with a relatively small group of people. I kind of realized like, oh, it's cool to like deepen those friendships rather than, being more shallow. It's cool to spend a lot of time with people and grow close with those people. Things like that. I never knew that that was a lesson I would take out of Ecuador, but it is such a valuable lesson that I can't imagine what would have happened if I never learned that lesson. It would have been a shame. I would have been sad. Well, I wouldn't have been sad because I wouldn't have known what I missed. And that's one of the big points. You don't know what you're missing. And I don't say that to make you anxious like, "Oh man, if I don't go out and visit Ecuador right now, I'm going to miss so much and I'll be behind or whatever." It's okay to miss opportunities because not every opportunity is for you. I mean, remember, if you don't take an opportunity, there's a good chance someone else will take that opportunity and maybe it'll be really great for them. The Ecuador trip could only have so many people on it. I applied, and thankfully I was one of the one who made it, but a lot of other people did want to go to that, and it would have been probably just as impactful for them as it was for me, but well, it seems maybe I was the best person to go on it because I would have had the most impact, or maybe I wouldn't even have, but I'm just the one who ended up there. And so it's okay if you miss an opportunity because there will be more opportunities in the future, maybe different opportunities, but still super valuable opportunities. But the important thing is that you're looking for those opportunities. You're actively searching, trying to identify them and acting on them, you know? So, yeah, man, I feel like there's so much value to exploring other perspectives, so much you can learn. It can change you, it can change the way you view things, it can do so much for you. So please, please pursue those. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really love these styles of videos. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm going to turn into a preacher. Maybe that's going to be my direction. I'm going to end up a pastor or something, and I'll just be like yelling at people all day. I don't know. I just think it's fun to share knowledge, especially knowledge that you think can be valuable to people. Um, that's one of my favorite things when I studied speech for a while, when I practiced speech. It was always really cool whenever I could deliver a speech that seemed valuable to people. Like if it's a speech about my favorite author or a speech about an idea that I feel is important. That's just such a cool thing to share knowledge that you feel is important. And I just did the thing I talked about. We're going full circle now. I'm talking about my talking, which shows that I'm thinking about my thinking, which is again valuable. But don't do it too much. All right. Thanks for watching again. I hope to see you in the future. I hope that you took something valuable from this. I hope you apply some of the stuff I said. Not all advice applies equally to everybody, so I'm not saying like apply this, like you have to do it, but I would recommend it. I think it could enrich your life. But anyway, have a great rest of your week or whatever it is that you have. Maybe you live in a place where they don't use weeks. Maybe that's your perspective on life. I don't know. Anyway, see ya.